2023 was a funny old year in Australian rugby, and it was a funny old year for this week's guest as well. He turned down Eddie Jones' offer to stay on in the Wallabies setup and instead was appointed to succeed Steve Borthwick at the Leicester Tigers. 12 months later, he finished up in Leicester and was quickly wanted back in Australia. And so it is that we welcome back a very proud Queenslander, a Brumby for life in his own words, and now the new man to lead the New South Wales Waratahs, Dan McKellar. Welcome, mate, to the 8-9 Combo podcast. How are you?
Yeah, good, Brett. Good to chat to you again, mate. Good to see you. Obviously a familiar voice and person that I speak to regularly in and around the rugby season. So nice to be back, mate, and nice to be chatting.
How often do you catch yourself looking in the mirror at that logo on your chest right now and go, oh, have you got used to that yet?
Yeah, no, well and truly. The sporting landscape throws up many different surprises, I suppose, and probably a few people are surprised that I'm in Sydney coaching the New South Wales Waratahs, but mate, really excited to be here and excited about the challenge and the group of staff that we've got and the group of players that we've put together and just keen to get stuck in now. Yeah,
I bet. You gave me a good laugh last week when you updated your LinkedIn page, and here he is, proud to say you starting a new role at New South Wales Waratahs. And what was the shirt on your profile picture, Dad?
Yeah, that's it, mate. No, you weren't the only one to pick that up. I was aware of it myself, but there wasn't too many photos of me in New South Wales Waratahs. No, so I managed to speak to young Hugo and grab a photo of him, and I quickly sorted that out. So it's the world we live in, isn't it? Social media, LinkedIn, all these sorts of things. So people are very observant.
Very observant, yes, and hence my attire for today. I guess, mate, your last 12 or 18 months is the very example of why coaches are told to rent houses and not buy them, aren't they?
Yeah, it's been obviously left Canberra at the end of 2022. Excited about the World Cup and working with Dave Rennie and Wisey and the boys with the Wallabies, and that all changed pretty quickly, and headed over to England to coach Leicester, and I won't go into detail in and around that, but things didn't go as planned, and find myself back in Australia, which, as I said, I'm genuinely excited about the chance to help the Waratahs, and funnily enough, I've always thought that my style and how I coach could help this organisation, and when the chance came up to come here and lead, a very proud organisation like the New South Wales Waratahs, over 150 years of history. I jumped at the opportunity. I think, for Australian rugby, and it's something that I've spoken many times about being passionate about, that we need to have a strong New South Wales, and that's what my job is over the next couple of years, is to ensure that we're finishing further up the ladder than we have done in recent times.
I reckon you were even saying that when you were here in Canberra with a Brumby shirt on. I'm sure you were saying that. How long was it before you knew about? How long was it after you finished up at Leicester that you knew about the New South Wales job? Was it sort of starting to be on the radar already, or did it sort of all just fall into place for you?
I was asked if I was interested, a little bit before things eventuated how they did with Leicester. Obviously, at that point in time, I'd committed there, and a couple of things changed, and it got to the point where I said to the CEO in Leicester that it's probably best that we part company and go separate ways, and this opportunity was still available, and I made it known when I was available that I was happy to have a discussion and a conversation around it, and that's what happened, and things moved pretty quickly.
Yeah, right. How do you look back on the way the Tigers job finished up? Was it hard on the family? Obviously, you moved Carla and the girls over there as well, and they would have been settled into schools and things like that. Was it a rough time for you all?
Look, when we were there, like the girls loved it. They went to a great school in Leicestershire. Carla being Carla, managed to make friends quickly, and they set up their own life sort of away from the Tigers, and were very settled and were very, very happy. As was I. Like it was a great experience. The premiership's a great competition. Incredibly tough. There's only 10 teams. Anyone can beat anyone on their given day. And it was a challenging year. When we had 13 players away for the first 6 weeks of the competition with the World Cup, and down a couple of key staff members, attack coach, and that sort of thing. So that made it challenging from a work perspective. But I always knew the first year would be. But the girls, they really enjoyed the experience, and it's probably been more of a challenge coming back home, to be honest, for them, and adjusting and settling back in with school and that sort of thing. And Carla taking a break from her own professional career. So, we're back in Australia. We're back surrounded by family and friends, and it's nice to be home.
How's the traffic in the eastern suburbs?
It's not too bad, mate. I've only got to travel 6 or 7 minutes to get to Aceyville, which is a good thing. So I'm really enjoying Sydney. It's a beautiful city. Unfortunately, I live pretty close to work, and 5 minutes down the road is Coogee Beach as well. So get in the salt water whenever I get the time and enjoy it. But it's a beautiful city. Obviously, it's a big city. It comes with traffic and other sorts of issues, cost of living and that sort of thing. But overall, very happy with the move.
Yeah. Did you, as I mentioned at the top, and I very deliberately said it, you are a proud Queenslander. You absolutely did call yourself a Brumbie for life when you were departing. Was there a moment where you thought, can I actually coach New South Wales? Or did the professional coach take over and go, you've got to take this job?
I always, I always thought that, as I said, that coaching the Waratahs, my style and how I coach, and this is probably a couple of years ago, when you're just having conversations over a cup of tea or a glass of wine with the wife, and you're talking about different sorts of things, and you never say never. And I just, as I said, I think it's a place that I think I can help. I think I can help the players individually and collectively, and I can't do it on my own. You need to make sure you're surrounded by good people. But I'm a pretty passionate person, as you know, Brett. And once I commit to a task or a job, you'll get every ounce of me. And was no different when I coached Souths in Brisbane. It was no different when I coached the Brumbies in Canberra, and it certainly will not be any different in New South Wales. I'll give my full commitment to this organisation and to this group of players, and go about working hard to build relationships and connections with the group, and ensure that we try and go about creating some pretty special memories together.
A question Harry wanted me to ask you is to ask how difficult or how easy it is to switch from one coaching job to the next, and his point being that a player might only have to properly buy in to maybe 3 or 4 clubs over their playing career, but a career coach might be 8 or 10 clubs. And so, having just spent 12 months learning all about the Leicester history and meeting all their legends and embracing their supporters and the community, how hard is it to unbuy all of that, I suppose, and then start afresh with New South Wales? And you've already mentioned the 150 years of history there.
It was pretty seamless, to be honest, because it all happened so quickly. One door closes and another one opened very quickly. But there was obviously a significant turnover of players here, a significant turnover of staff. So I didn't have a whole lot of time to think about it, to be honest. It was just head down, bum up, and get to work and go about recruiting assistant coaches, analysts, physios, team managers. Like, there wasn't too many roles that were filled. With people that were staying on. So I didn't have a whole lot of time to think about it. And, the beauty is of been able to bring in people who I trust and some who I've worked with in the past. And I know that they're going to be 110% committed to this job as well, and that together as a group, we need to work hard to change things, because obviously there needs to be some significant change. But I think, in terms of, I'm pretty familiar with the Waratahs, having coached against them, and always had an enormous amount of respect for this organisation, and playing against them, coaching against them for a long period of time, watching them in terms of their history and their DNA and what they stand for as an organisation, I'm pretty familiar with. So it was probably easier here than when I went to Leicester. But as I said, I didn't have a whole lot of time to think about it.
Yeah. Was a key point in that Dan Palmer agreeing to go with you? You two have obviously coached a lot together over the last couple of years. He obviously went to Leicester as well, and him agreeing to come back to Sydney would have been a fairly important cog for you, I can imagine. Yeah,
no, he was definitely someone who I wanted to talk to pretty quickly. He's someone that you're right. I've worked with him for over a decade. He's an incredibly loyal bloke. Most importantly, he's a quality coach, and I knew that he was going to be an important piece of the puzzle here. And it wasn't easy at first. Palms has got a life away from rugby and was weighing up whether professional coaching was something that he wanted to do. But we had a couple of coffees, and I managed to sell him the dream, I suppose, of the vision of what we want to try and achieve at New South Wales. And thankfully, he got on board, and it was the same with others. Obviously Mike Catt's come on board, a world-class attack coach who I tried to get to Leicester previously, and then Lockie McCaffrey is someone who I coached and always really valued his thoughts and his opinions as a player, and he's a very smart player, and players that are going to be good coaches if they want to be. The challenge is, do you want to work on a Sunday? For 8 or 9 hours on a weekend when everyone else certainly isn't doing that. So it's not for everyone, but thankfully Lockie's had a taste of it now with Gungahlin and then in Otago at the NPC. He's also recently retired, so he's got that connection and understands how this generation thinks and works. And I know that he'll build strong relationships with the players, and that they'll want to defend for him as their coach.
It's been a rapid rise for him, as you say. He's only a couple of years out of playing. You always thought he would be a coach if he wanted to.
I always thought he had the nous and the IQ, the rugby IQ to be a coach. As I said, it's not for everyone because it's just 24/7. It's all consuming, and it was whether he needed to make that decision, whether that was the path that he wanted to go down, and he's chosen that path. And everyone needs to be given an opportunity, and I've said it many times that I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for Laurie Fisher and Steve Larkin giving me a crack back in 2013. And I feel as coaches that we've got responsibility to develop the next generation, and I think Lockie's a part of that.
Yeah, you won't go up against Laurie, but it will be weird not necessarily taking on the Brumbies, but going up against Stephen at some point in 2025.
It'll be a couple of times a year, won't it? And I worked with Bernie for 5 years and really enjoyed it, and have a lot of time for him and Jackie and the girls. I did so much, not just for me as a coach, but for our family when we first moved to Canberra. So it'll obviously be a bit funny, won't it? When the Brumbies play the Waratahs, it'll be a good story and that sort of thing. But it's 80 minutes. We go hammer and tong, and I'm sure we'll enjoy a beer, or Bernie might have a West Coast cooler or something after the game. I'll have a Tui's now. I'll have a Tui's and.
You've really converted, have you?
Yeah. No, we'll enjoy each other's company after the game, no doubt. So it's something I look forward to.
There was a funny moment. There was a Brumbies announcement or something that Phil Thompson was at, and I don't think you'd taken the job, but you were certainly in the frame. And one of the guys here, one of the Canberra Times guys, actually asked asked Phil what he thought of the idea of Dan McKellar coaching the Waratahs, and his response was in that perfect deadpan way that Tomo does. He just went, "Who?" So yes, it's going to be Tarwick is going to be an interesting one, no doubt.
Yeah,
You've quickly assembled a strong squad. How many moves were already in place when you took on the job, and I suppose how early did you pick up and start trying to do the build yourself?
Yeah, immediately. Honestly, because I think players were reluctant until they knew who was coaching.
Yeah.
The New South Wales Waratahs, they were reluctant to sign it, and you can understand that. So, pretty much straight away, I got on the phone to players who I knew were seriously considering it as an option. Obviously, with the unfortunate circumstances, what happened with the Rebels, and players like your Leotas and Taniela and these guys that I know and I've built relationships with from my time with the Wallabies. I didn't hesitate to pick up the phone and talk to them, and obviously there's been others that have come from outside Australia as well that we've brought in. So no, we're comfortable with the squad that we've put together. There's across most positions there's pretty good strength and pretty good depth, and it'll be competitive, and we'll have some tough calls to make in and around selection, but that's exactly how we want it. You're not going to win or compete with the best at Super Rugby if you've only got 20 good players. You need competition across the park, and the players benefit off the back of that. That competition will bring the best out in each and every one of them, and that's something that I find is critically important. And the season for a lot of players these days is very long, and they play a lot of rugby. The guys that are playing Test rugby as well, and you need to manage their loads, but at the same time making sure that they're feeling challenged and they're not being comfortable either. Because the last thing you need is a whole heap of comfortable players that aren't being challenged, aren't getting the best out of themselves.
Yeah, was Taniela the first call, and were there a couple of guys you had to work on a bit harder than you thought?
There wasn't there? I had a number of conversations with Nella, and it's tight head prop, such an incredibly important position, and he's obviously a very good one. So no, I had a number of chats with Nella, but the first calls were probably to existing players, to be honest.
Yeah, right.
We pick up the phone to guys like Jake Gordon, and had a good chat with Hugh Sinclair, and even guys like Jed Holloway and that were leaving, and just to get their thoughts around what was working and what they thought needed to be tweaked or changed, and so it wasn't just about the recruitment side of things; it was retaining as well. Tane Edmed's career was up in the air at that point in time, and so there was a lot of conversations, not just with Melbourne-based players, but with players that were already existing Waratahs.
Yeah. Look, you mentioned Jed Holloway now. Ned Hannigan's another one that you would have. Was there any attempts to try and talk them out of moves, or were they already done at that point? You spoke to them.
Yeah, they were already done. Yeah. Ned was keen to get over to Europe and try something different, and obviously Jed with his wife being from America, family and the support network that they have over there, that was the path that they wanted to go down. Two really good men, two guys that I enjoyed working with at Wallaby level. But when someone moves on, presents opportunity for others, and there's a great opportunity for some of these good young players that we've got here that are training with us now.
Yeah. Do you look forward to working with someone like Jake Gordon, who I can imagine is probably going to be fairly high up the list in terms of potential leaders and captaincy and all that, but someone who you would have been plotting to bring down for much of your coaching career? All of a sudden, you've got a very different relationship with him.
Yeah, well, as a player, he's a triple threat, isn't he? Like, he's got a very good passing game. He's got good speed, good acceleration. He'll challenge any defensive line, and then his kicking game is something that's really improved. But what I loved about Jake at the Wallabies was, in my time in there, he often wasn't in the 23, but was such a good team man. He was a really good team man. He had a great relationship with Dave Rennie, and how they sort of bounced off each other. And regardless of what his role was within the team, he was just a top quality team man week in, week out, whether it was helping prepare the non-23 for that particular week to prepare the playing 23, or whether it was starting or coming off the bench. And I enjoyed working with him back then, but obviously now moving to the Waratahs, senior player here, he's certainly someone who I look forward to working with, and I'll be picking his brain daily once he gets out of that Wallaby environment.
And there'll be, as is the case everywhere, I suppose, there'll be guys, and again, Jake will be part of that, who will be thinking, how much longer do I stay in Australia as well? So I guess the key for a season like next year is that you could potentially change their careers a little bit and their career thinking.
Yeah, that's it. He obviously, it was well known that he was looking at his options over the course of the last 6 months, I suppose. I think now he'd be pretty comfortable and pretty happy with where he sits within the Wallaby group. It's the first time he's had a really genuine crack at that international level, week in, week out. And he's performed pretty well.
Very, very good. Yeah.
He has. I think that side of things will certainly sway his thinking, and if he's enjoying life in Sydney, playing for the New South Wales Waratahs and a team that's playing a good style of rugby and winning more than we lose, then there's no reason for him to look elsewhere. I think he's played just over 100 games now for the club. Gets out a couple more seasons. I don't think anyone's played 150 for the Waratahs, so it's
that'd be right.
Personal individual accolades are not what it's all about, and Jake would be the first to say that. But there's many reasons why he'd want to stay. We've just got to give him a reason to.
Yeah, no doubt. Joseph Suaalii, you said in Ian Payton's Sydney Morning Herald profiling him there a couple of weeks ago that you had some ideas on where you wanted to play him. Have you had to rethink those ideas already, or were you on the same page as Joe Schmidt, thinking you might be a centre?
Look, I think, as I said to Pato, he's basically said he could play anywhere in the back line but halfback, but he's a rare talent. I think 13 he's well suited to. I also think 15. I think they're the two positions. It'll come down to the best makeup of what we need within our group. I think if you look here, we've got Callaway and Jorgensen, as well as some good young fullbacks coming through. Is his best fit 13 for this group? I just think whatever number he's got on his back, he just need to play a style and build a game that's going to allow him to be in the game.
Yeah,
and be in and around the ball. And I think that's something that the Wallabies did really well against England. Just how he was used off kick-off and the damage that he caused there and the turnovers that he created aerially.
Yeah.
I think what surprised a lot of people was his touch and his skill level under pressure, decision making, and then the execution off the back of it. For someone who hadn't played a professional game of rugby union, you got to take your hat off to him. And I think what also helped Joseph on the weekend was the fact that from 1 to 23, I think just about every one of them had their best game they've had in a gold jersey ever, or certainly in a long period of time. Ikitau was outstanding. I thought Noah was very good as well. The forwards certainly laid a platform and delivered front foot quality ball for guys like Len and Joseph and Kells and others to take advantage of. Yeah,
no doubt. Did you get a chance to have a chat to him before he went over to the UK with the Wallabies?
Yeah, and I had a number of conversations. Once the Roosters were knocked out of the NRL, gave them a couple of days to enjoy the festivities there, and then we met up a couple of times in Sydney. I remember talking to Peter Hewitt about Joseph when Huey coached him in the Australian 18s back in 2019. I think it was.
Yeah, of course, he did too. Yeah.
He spoke as highly about the individual and the character as much as he did about his talent as a rugby player. And you can see that Joseph clearly comes from a very good family and incredibly respectful and grounded young man who's got a dream and a vision on where he wants to take his career, and now he's just going about putting that vision into practice, and you can't help but respect and admire that. He's got a lot to learn, even from the weekend. He'll be the first to admit there'll be parts of his game that he will learn, and he will learn more and more every day, both at training and with every game that he plays. But I think just his talent, firstly, and his work ethic and his professionalism will put him in a good position to have a successful career.
Did you see anything on debut and go, holy moly, I've got a good one here?
Yeah, I think I saw what everyone else saw. I don't think there was ever any doubt around his talent. But on one of the biggest stages there is, Twickenham, in front of 80,000 of English supporters, in a big test match, to just have the composure and the calmness that he played with. That was probably the most impressive thing. The offloads, the vertical jump that he has to present aerial pressure. They're all freakish abilities that he's been blessed with. But I think it's his composure and calmness that's what really stood out for me.
Yeah, no, it was an incredible debut. Angus Bell, as an old loose head yourself, I mean, how exciting must it have been to think about what sort of player he could become? Yeah,
he was outstanding, wasn't he, Belly? When he knocked out about 65 minutes.
70, yeah.
70 at loose head prop. The quality of his ball carrying, there's not too many blokes that sit Tom Curry down. And he did that early on in that game, and those sorts of carries and those involvements laid the platform for, as I said, for the backline to put in the performances that they put in across the board. So no, he's again, someone who's had enormous potential for a long period of time. But I think he's getting the balance of his game right now, understanding that there's more to the game than just ball carry. There's scrum, there's maul, there's clean out, there's defence, and certainly over the last 12 to 18 months, the more games he's been able to string together, you can see development in those areas, and that's what really good test front rowers. They're good in all areas of the game, and Bally's certainly developed that side of his game, and he's a point of difference player now. He is, like beating 9 defenders with one on your back. I can certainly assure you that I wasn't beating 9 defenders with one on my back.
Yeah, no, very, very few were. And maybe the big benefactor of his game was Slips running on in the 71st minute. He had the biggest grin on his face ever, thinking, how good is this? 10 minutes of test rugby. This is going to be great.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, well, Slips knows, doesn't he? The shoe's been on the other foot many times where he's had to push out 70-odd minutes or even 60 at loose head and then 20 at tight head. So
it's true.
I'm sure he appreciated that 10-minute cameo.
Yeah, no doubt. What excites you most about coming back to Australia, getting back to the swing of things and ripping into Super Rugby in 2025, mate?
Oh, look, I think with what's ahead with the Lions and the World Cup, but I'm excited about the talent that we've got here within our playing group, within our staff group, and what we can achieve over the next couple of years. We need to be patient. Our supporters need to be patient. We're in this for the long haul, but I think if we go about working hard and turning up with an attitude every day, I just want to get better and better, both as a staff member and as a player, then we'll give ourselves an opportunity to improve very, very quickly. But I'm excited about helping, to be honest. I just want to see the game, and I thought what the Wallabies did on Sunday morning was such a positive story, and the narrative changes so quickly. I think there's a rugby community out there that is desperate to get behind the Waratahs, and we've seen that in the past with what they had at Leichhardt Oval a couple of years ago, and string some wins together and play a brand that really resonates with the rugby community. Then I know that we'll get 20,000 people plus back at Allianz Stadium quickly, and
yeah,
I just want to see the game do well, Brett. I want people to think positively about it and enjoy rugby and have people talking positively about the Waratahs and Super Rugby and the Wallabies again.
Yeah, you've enjoyed being back already?
Oh, loving it. Honestly, loving it. Like, it's like the facility that we've got here is world class. Brand new. It's not even 2 years old, so it's easy to come to work, even on the weekends. And I've got a group of players that are just desperate to learn and be coached and work hard and want to get better. And thankfully, I've got good staff and support around me to ensure that we can go about doing that. But it's nice to be home. England was a great experience and probably a little bit shorter than we all expected. But coming back to Australia and helping is certainly something I'm excited about.
When you do get to dip the toes into Coogee Beach, do you think about how mad your last 2 years have been?
Yeah, it was probably. It wasn't until I started to pack up the boxes to come home. Something we've become pretty good at. Carl is the one that drives all of that, but that was when it all sort of hit home, I suppose. In terms of the changes that we'd had as a family and that sort of thing, but. It was a great experience. Didn't go to plan, but do I leave or do I return a better coach? 100%. I return a better coach, and I think better father, better husband, all of that goes with it as well. So it's nice to be back and in a position where I can help this organisation and hopefully help the game.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, mate, I sincerely wish you all the best for next year for all bar 2 weeks. I'll say that. But I do genuinely wish you all the best next year. It's great that you're back in Australia and back in the Australian game. And as I say, if anyone's going to turn the Waratahs around and get them going again, I can't think of too many better than you to do it, mate. So all the best with it.
Appreciate it, Brett. Always good to chat, mate. And no doubt we'll catch up down at GIA Stadium and at Allianz during the course of the year.
We definitely will, mate.